Welcome to BWBusinessworld. Today on BWHotwires, we are going to talk to Mr. Rajat Verma, who is the CEO of Lohum Cleantech. Lohum Cleantech is one of those companies which is actually building a 3 gigawatt hour integrated lithium-ion manufacturing and recycling unit in Greater Noida. So, Mr. Rajat, welcome to the show and tell us about the whole idea about setting up this integrated unit. What is this unit about and what all are you doing there?
Sure, Siddharth. Thank you for having me here. When we started out, we were very clear. Why are we in the lithium-ion battery space? Why are we doing electric vehicles? And the basic philosophy was to provide a more sustainable solution to the world. The world of automotive autos and the larger auto industry has been around forever. I think we've reached that stage in the general global setup where we want to create more and more sustainable units. And sustainability doesn't just come by electrifying the vehicle, by running the vehicle using possibly renewable sources, but sustainability really comes if you can truly reuse, recycle, and reclaim whatever went into the original product creation. And that is what is probably the most important aspect of sustainability. And only then can you truly create an electric vehicle ecosystem which can be considered green. Now, as most of you may know, batteries ultimately are an electrochemical solution, which means they use a lot of chemicals which have been ultimately extracted from Earth. And the process of extraction is typically not very green. The process of converting those extracted elements into a cell, which ultimately is a building block of the battery, is also very energy heavy and hence potentially very carbon negative. So our goal always was, how do we create a sustainable ecosystem around the electric vehicle market? So, there are a lot of people in the industry who are talking about using electrical vehicles as a way, using EVs as a way to create a green ecosystem. We decided to go a step further. We said it's not just about getting your EV right. It's also about ensuring your EV actually goes through a circular economy. Only then is your EV truly contributing to the global sustainable ecosystem. And and as most of us know, an electric vehicle is all about batteries. Almost 40 to 60% of the cost of an electric vehicle is a battery pack. So if you can truly make your battery pack ecosystem circular, then you probably are doing justice to the claims around electric vehicles being truly green and truly reducing the overall carbon footprint that they have for us. So with that in mind, we started thinking about lithium-ion batteries and started thinking about creating a circular ecosystem around lithium-ion batteries, which really meant looking at a battery from a sort of very straightforward birth to death approach. How do I ensure that when my battery pack is initially created, it can really live the longest life possible? Maybe not in the first body that it went into, but possibly in a second body, possibly in a third body, whatever be it. And then ultimately, at its so-called death, I'm able to extract all the remnants from it and put it back into that original application that it probably was meant for to begin with. That was a thought process with which we started out Lohum. And we obviously realized the only way to do this is to run an integrated setup wherein I'm making new battery packs, wherein Lohum is producing, where Lohum is reclaiming the battery packs from the market and then deploying them into another application. And then it is reclaiming from that secondary application, extracting the chemicals and putting those chemicals back into the cell production market. Only if we did all these things would we truly running a setup which would A, be economically efficient, B, be sustainability efficient, and 3, which was an added benefit and not necessarily an afterthought, but probably a very critical thought, was it becomes geostrategically efficient. And by that, what I mean is, again, most of the constituents of a lithium-ion battery are very geostrategic in nature. Lithium, cobalt, nickel, all the graphite, all these tend to be concentrated in certain parts of the world. More importantly, all the refining capacity that we have, which ultimately converts them into relevant material, which can go into a lithium-ion cell, also is heavily concentrated in China. So, if we truly are talking about true sustainability, we also want to make sure we are not dependent on any particular set up, any particular jurisdiction in the world, and we do have the ability to create the solution without a heavy dependence on any particular geography in the world. And recycling certainly provisions us that ability, that once you can reclaim the elements, you can pretty much, you have access to the elements. You're not dependent on any other country or their mines or their refining capacity. And thus you've truly created an ecosystem in which A, you're not reliant on others, B, you've reduced the carbon footprint, C, you've reduced the overall pollution that your vehicle is causing, and D, you have also in the process ended up creating a lot of jobs. And that was the overall goal with which we set this up. We are putting together a 3 gigawatt hour setup in Greater Noida, of which 2 gigawatt hours will be meant for recycling and 1 gigawatt hour will be meant for battery pack manufacturing. Just to give you a sense what that 2 gigawatt hour of recycling really translates to, a lot of us are familiar, and we're all very excited about Ola's recent announcement that they are willing to, they are setting up a manufacturing facility where they can produce 1 million scooters every year. We are setting up capacity to recycle 1 million scooter batteries every year. That is what 2 gigawatt hour really means. And that is the goal with which we are bringing up the new facility. This will be potentially the largest of its kind integrated facility anywhere in the world, wherein we are not just making battery packs, but also extracting chemicals at a scale at which you can actually run 1 billion two-wheelers in the market.
So, Rajat, although this is a great idea, but there are challenges here, right? Extracting rare earth minerals from batteries. Nobody has actually done this before in India. And these minerals are actually not available. So these are very precious as well. So what kind of challenges are you facing there? And apart from these challenges, what other challenges are you facing while building this 3 gigawatt hour plant?
Siddharth, great question. And Lohum is actually ultimately a technology company. We've been doing extensive R&D in extracting metals. And again, go back to the bottom line of our activity. We wanted to do activities which are truly green, truly sustainable. If I'm going to recycle and in the process end up polluting my environment, I'm probably not being just and fair to what I actually started out with. So we've been setting up our processes such that they are actually US EPA compliant. We are trying to use the best standards out there, which really means taking the most stringent of norms from California and applying them over here in our recycling process, with a end goal being there should be no solid waste, no liquid waste, and no gaseous waste at the end of our process. Needless to say, as you can understand, this is very challenging, technically a very demanding problem, particularly if you're trying to do in an economically profitable way. We also want to be a company which recycles material without any subsidies from anyone. That's the goal, right? We don't want the government to give us SOPs. We don't want industry to provide us with subsidies. We just want to make sure this is a process which by itself is economically and environmentally, a positive process. And so that did mean that a lot of R&D had to go into this. I mean, we've conducted more than 2,500 R&D cycles now in our process. We keep tweaking it. We keep improving it. The best part of what we are doing here is I do have a brilliant team which is working on the problem. The team has been at it for the last several years, and we've had many so-called eureka moments in our journey as we've been trying to optimize our processes, make our process more and more profitable. And today I do like to believe, and when we look at our metrics and compare them with metrics with some of the largest players in the global ecosystem, we do run one of the most efficient processes, both from a CapEx and an OpEx perspective globally. What that means is it allows us to actually take any material anywhere in the world and recycle it. So Siddharth, if you can think of the potential enormity of this, we today can truly think of taking material from the entire global ecosystem, bringing it into India, possibly, churning out the chemicals from them, and in the process making India one of the largest producers of lithium, nickel, and cobalt in the global context. This is unheard of. No one can even think that we are talking about potentially becoming price setters in this world. It may not be China anymore. It may not be other parts of the world anymore, right? That is what we aspire to do with the technology that we have created. And so that's certainly one of the things. It was a challenge, but I do like to believe that at this stage we've solved probably 80 to 85% of the technical challenges that came into our way. No technology is perfect. We continue to tweak, we continue to improve, but we certainly do have a leadership. The other element, Siddharth, where we took a complete leadership was from day one, we decided we're not just going to be pure recyclers, right? The global mantra today is not of just being extractors. The global mantra is reuse first, right? And we are talking about that in every industry out there. When it comes to clothing, when it comes to plastic, when it comes to name the commodity out there, we are saying let's first reuse, extend it to the maximum use case possible, only then go into potentially breaking it down into its building blocks and extracting its building blocks. That reuse mantra is super critical, and that is where India has a huge advantage over the rest of the world. We are, of course, we are a significantly fast-growing economy globally. We do have a lot of energy requirements. Our energy consumption per capita is one of the lowest in the world. We need to bring that up. And there's no better way to increase our energy consumption by other than using all these reusable material to provision energy to a very energy depleted population that we have. And so that reuse use case that sits in India is far superior than the reuse use case that sits anywhere in the world. And what that does allow us to do, Siddharth, in the process is really think of battery recycling in the most economical way, in the most profitable way. And our proposition to all our clients, all our global OEMs is, look, I'm going to convert your recycling cost center into a profit center. Today, you're worried about recycling because that dents your bottom line. Tomorrow, I'm actually going to give you money because you're recycling things. And why can I do that? Because I'm offering this integrated platform that you are not going to get from anywhere else.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Because we are just starting with the electric vehicle revolution, and later on, this will critically become a very big problem. So, Rajat, tell me, what is the status with the fundings and the finances at Lohum? Because this is going to be a big project.
Yeah, it's a big project, but we are lucky to have some very good investors already supporting us, and we continue to get more and more commitments from other investors. At this stage, we have, north of we've already got Bearing Private Equity as an institutional investor with us. We've got Talbros Automotive Component as a strategic investor with us. We've got a bunch of other investors who are participating in our current round. So we have commitments of north of 200 crores at this stage for the investments that we're going to do. We are looking to raise, we probably will do another close at maybe 300 crores to do the next set of deployment. But again, like I said, Siddharth, the fascinating thing about the global capital markets today is if you're truly solving a problem, capital is not a constraint at all. There's a lot of liquidity in the global ecosystem. A lot of that liquidity is flowing into green projects, and we certainly are one of the beneficiaries of this mindset shift that has happened in the global capital markets. And so I don't believe that really is the issue. I think from our perspective, it is just ensuring that we continue to execute and continue to solve some of the most complex technical problems and continue with the larger vision that we have, which is let's make sure we do become the largest producers of lithium, cobalt, and nickel anywhere in the world. And rest of it is, I would almost argue, fairly easy.
Now, tell me, the Indian government is very proactive with things like production linked schemes, and they have extended it to electronics and everything. So do you think there are any policy-based changes that you expect from the government? Do you think this is enough? Do you think there is more that needs to be done, specifically in lithium batteries,
Sure. No, the government has been very proactive. Initially, what was, I would almost say, more of announcements, they've now converted into some really interesting policies. There are other draft policies out there. For example, the recycling draft policy is being looked upon at the moment. We expect that to get notified soon. Niti Aayog is aggressively working on a circular economy policy. And lithium-ion batteries are one of the critical constituents of the circular economy policy, which will ultimately translate into a PLI-like scheme for recycling. The PLI scheme itself promotes a lot of localized content, and recycled chemical is about as critical a localized content that goes into manufacturing of cell. So a lot of interesting things happening. FAME 2 already is there. A lot of subsidies are available. I would say one of the reasons why we've seen the two-wheeler market take off suddenly so quickly is just some of the recent announcements that were made by the government, wherein they improved or they increased the incentive associated with FAME 2. So we governments never can do everything that the industry needs, but I would argue at this stage the government has done probably as much as it could for the electric vehicle industry as you could expect from any government in the world. And I would really commend the government on that. And obviously we'll keep showing them the larger picture, and we hope that we know that the bureaucracy is certainly receptive of the larger picture. Our goal is to show the larger picture, highlight the challenges in the larger picture, and work with the government in solving those challenges. And we continue to do that on a regular basis.
Great. Rajat, now there are news that Amara Raja is also getting into battery manufacturing. So what do you think about the competition that's coming up in this sector?
Again, it's great to have competition. I mean, Amara Raja is there. Exide certainly is making its own set of activities in the segment. There's a larger, I would say, long tail ecosystem which is also working in the lithium-ion battery ecosystem. So I mean, competition only pushes all of us to become stronger, harder. But again, Siddharth, our core IPR is the integrated platform that we are offering, which is not being offered by anyone. And again, I like to say, not just within India but globally. You've got players who make battery packs, you've got players who are recyclers, you've got players who are doing second life deployment, but Lohum literally is the only one which is doing all those three set of activities. A lot of synergies between those three activities, which is what ultimately makes us an effective participant in this ecosystem.
Great, Rajat. Now, apart from electric vehicle batteries, you also have two other verticals in the integrated unit. Could you tell us about that as well?
So, I mean, outside of electric vehicle batteries, we also make battery packs for stationary storage applications. So, commercial and industrial UPS applications, micro and mini grid storage applications. Potentially at this stage, while we have not done this, but this is certainly on the cards, providing backup storage for grid as well, for grid level applications as well. So again, the beauty of lithium-ion batteries is, the cost structure of lithium-ion batteries has come down so much that, just in the last 5 years, a lot of applications which seemed even remotely not viable, let's say 8 or 9 years back, they suddenly seem not just viable, but they seem like the only way to go forward with them is using a lithium-ion battery setup. So that's what the beauty of this particular chemistry is. It has suddenly extended itself to a lot of interesting applications which go beyond just the EV industry. So you've got the stationary storage industry, you've got the industrial automation industry, robotics, forklifts, name the thing out there that an industry needs. Think of anything which is portable. Ultimately, it needs some source of energy. And today that source of energy, almost universally acceptable source of energy, is lithium-ion batteries by virtue of the cost at which it can be produced. And then on top of it, if we can recycle it, if we can truly turn it back into the original product, then we really allowed any particular geography to become energy independent. And that's what we are striving to do. But from our perspective, we look at our market in terms of three different verticals. There's a mobility vertical, there's a stationary storage and the industrial automation vertical, and then there's the chemicals vertical, wherein we actually sell the chemicals back to cell manufacturers.
I want to know the status of the unit right now. Where are you and with the whole manufacturing of the whole unit, and when is it going to be fully functional?
So, we expect the entire unit to get commissioned end to end in 18 months. We obviously are not going to, we do things in a very modular way. So it's not like I'm overnight adding 2 gigawatt hours of capacity on recycling and 1 gigawatt hour on battery pack. So the immediate next step is we are actually adding about 500 megawatt hours of capacity on the recycling side, for which, machinery is getting fabricated as we speak. On the batteries pack side, we are adding another 500 megawatt hour of capacity again, for which, again, a lot of machinery is being fabricated, others are getting fabricated. And we should be able to do our phase 1 completion by December of this year. and post December, then we do another sort of the phase 2 by June, and then the remaining phase in the remaining 6 odd months. So the next 18 months in 3 different phases, we should have capacities up and running.
Great. Now, Rajat, this is my last question. I would like to ask you, what is your short-term goal plans, and what is your long-term plans with the whole integrated facility that you're building?
Sure. I think the short-term plan really is to ensure that we set up the 3 gigawatt hour facility as quickly as possible. Both on the supply and the demand side, there's just people knocking on our doors on both sides, and so we just want to get this facility up and running ASAP and make it very clear that India indeed has taken up leadership in this integrated lithium-ion battery approach. The long-term goal, Siddharth, again, like I said, is I truly want India to become the leader in these 3 raw materials that I talked about: lithium, cobalt, nickel. I want India to be, across the 3 combined, the number 1 country in the world, and that is the long-term vision with which we are functioning here.
Thank you for talking to us, Mr. Rajat, and we wish you all the best for your future endeavors.
Thank you, Siddharth. Thank you so much for your time.